Muslim Ummah today, and probably for some time, will be ghafla. Ghafla is heedlessness, loosely translated into English. There is not a single creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that is crawling on earth except human beings. There is not a single creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the animal kingdom they ever suffer from ghafla. A little rabbit comes out of its hole, always alert. Little bird on the street, when they come to pick up some food, always alert. But the human being, the only analogy I can make from our world, younger people can relate. There are so many movies where human beings are zombies. The zombie movie. They have no intelligence, no aql. Their intelligence just locked on infecting another person or for food. In the movies. As far as tasawwuf is concerned, this is the natural state of nafs al-ammara. Zombies. It can be cured. Zombies only interested in survival of its own needs and wants, nothing else. Let me give you another example. Just imagine there is one particular exam that the Australian government puts you through in order to come to Australia at the embassy. One exam. Everybody has to sit in. If you fail this exam, you can never come to this country. Can you imagine the anxiety, the alertness, the study that you will do just to come to Australia? What if you sat in this exam and you were playing with your pen, like, university students constantly play with their pen. They constantly waste time. But the time is ticking. Tick, 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 tick. 2 hours exam. After that, you don't even know that exam. The guy says, pens down, no more. State where a person does not know the purpose of his existence, why he is here. What is the purpose of being here on earth? Did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala create us to come here and have fun, and at the end we become dust like the animals? Or do we have a purpose? As we all know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala teaches us in the Quran. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam taught us in his entire life. All the Anbiya alayhimus salam taught us in their existence that we have a purpose. This exam is not for just sitting and having coffee. This exam is not just wasting time. This exam has to be passed. If you want eternal life, you need to be aware, alert, and work towards that particular goal. You have challenges. Indeed, it's part of the game. It's part of the setup. You have something within you, constantly gives you waswasa to deviate you from the path. There is something external enemy, Shaitan alayhi la'na, constantly gives you that particular waswasa. When they unite together, you are like a zombie. You need to wake up from this state. This state is heedlessness. It's a major sin of forgetting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and your divine origins, where you came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. We came from Allah indeed. Our journey is from Allah to Allah. Allah to Allah. We are here just for a temporary period for a purpose. When you deliberately forget and ignore your purpose in life, you are indifferent to this purpose of creation, and you did not do anything. As a result, what happens? You are in a state of ghafla. Oh, it's the wrong one. It's not the wrong one, it's the right one. But your computer still don't work. Oh, there it is. Okay. We have covered some of this ghafla last time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not want us to be in a state of ghafla. وَلَا تَكُمْ مِنَ الْغَافِلِينَ. Do not be amongst those who are ghafilin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala literally tells us, don't be a zombie. Don't waste time. You have a purpose here. You have a mission. And this mission, you get only one chance. One shot. It will never be repeated. No matter who you are, as long as you're carrying a ruh within you, you have a soul, you have intelligence, you're already in the exam. Whether you realize it or not realize it, up to you. Remember your Lord. Make dhikr of ta'ala within yourself humbly, fearing, in a voice not loud in the morning and the evening, meaning constantly. Make dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Remember Allah subhanahu, remember your purpose, and be not of the heedless ones. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us. Again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us the opposite of the opposite of a Muslim who's aware. Opposite of a person who's the opposite of ghafla is being in a state of awareness. And awareness is a mental state that is dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A dhakir is a person complete opposite of ghafil. Dhakir means a person who's got his mindset constantly operating aware. The difference between a student who's fulfilling the answers or answering the answers, making an effort, could be wrong answers, but still making an effort because he knows there's a time, or the person who does not care, completely playing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us that the pure ghafil is a person who takes his own nafs al-ammara as his God, his whims and wishes, the dictates of his nafs al-ammara as his God. God is something that you worship. You constantly obey and adhere. Doesn't have to be God, God. Any desire that you keep overemphasize and constantly fulfill that desire is your God. With a small g. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says in one hadith, there is no greater God in the sight of human beings that is worshipped besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala under the arsh. There is no greater God than nafs al-ammara besides Allah that is being worshipped by human beings under the arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Meaning, rhetorically, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that if you do not worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're worshipping who? Shaitan alayhi la'na, or your nafs al-ammara. Whatever the dictates, I want to do this without any hindrance. We call these in the West, Western liberties. I want to do this. I want to enjoy this. I want to do this. But these are all what the zombies want to do. You're not here to waste any single minute. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says this is what happens to a ghafil person. And of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, you can't save all these zombies. You're not a protector over them. They are nothing but cattle. It said actually Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says even worse than cattle. بَلْ هُمْ أَضَلْ سَبِيلًا. They are worse than cattle. Cattle is a mubarak, a blessed animal. We benefit from it. And cattle is actually not ghafil. Cattle knows the reason for its creation. Cattle is absolutely aware. It's just one cattle-like attribute, bohemian attribute of what does a cattle do? Eat. All day, grass cutter. Head down, eat. When it comes time to defecate. no haya or anything naturally. Then go home and sleep all night. When the cow goes into its season and needs to be impregnated and what multiply. What is there anything else to the story of a cow? Anything else? This is what human beings, this is what Nafsul Ammara wants us to do. Just want to fulfill its desires and don't want to care about anything, don't want to take any responsibility, don't want to think of where it came from, where it's going, the hard questions. My pages are all upside down. Okay. It's all Andre's fault. He confused me. I'm getting there somewhere. Inshallah. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam came to this world to awaken us. Quran was sent here to awaken us. A real, when you say there are shades of ghafla, some like a mist, sometimes comes and goes. Sometimes they are a bit more solid. Yeah. Sometimes they're absolutely solid, and our ulama liken them like icebergs. Icebergs, huge. It's impossible to move. Actually, pure state of ghafla is kufr. Pure state of ghafla is shirk. Completely you lost your objectives and you don't even care. But we're talking to a Muslim. How does a ghafil respond to the cure? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, when you come to one of them, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioned in front of them that you have a purpose, talking to a zombie, you have an intellect, you have a purpose, something is waiting for you in the eternal life, that you need to do not, you cannot waste this time of yours, come back to your senses. When you talk to a kafir, when you talk to pure ghafil, and a Muslim who's a fast, a ghafil person, a Muslim who does not care, is a fasiq person. He's got the Muslim ID, but he is in a state of heedlessness. He says, when you mention Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala next to them, oh, if they're kafir, they're filled with disgust in their hearts. If it's a Muslim, bad Muslim says, oh no, another Sheikh, I'm going to cop another lecture. Leave me alone, man. And look, but you're a Muslim, kafir Muslim. But the same person, if you were to mention anything other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, enjoyment of this life, for a zombie, another person in fact, or something to feel their satami, they are filled with joy. This is the state of a ghafil person. Now, let's come to our next disease. I went actually, Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Last week or last time I said to you in the ghafla, there is not a single creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that is in a state of ghafla except the mankind and jinn kind. It's part of the test. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. تسبح له السماوات السبع والأرض ومن فيهن وإن من شيء إلا يسبح بحمده ولكن لا يفقهون تسبيحهم إنه كان حليما غفورا. In the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the cosmos, the seven heavens, that crawls, that's living, whether it is jamadat whether they are inanimate objects, including table, including tissue box, every single atom within the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala constantly remembers Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, praises Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is not a single thing but glorifies Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, with His praise, but you do not understand their glorification. Surely He is forbearing and most forgiving. Come back to your senses. In other words, there is a hadith of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, ثلاثة معصومين من شر إبليس وجنوده. There are three groups of people who shall be absolutely protected from Shaitan alayhi la'na and his cronies, his soldiers. What are those three things? First, الذاكرون الله كثيرا بالليل والنهار. To constantly remember, be in a state of awareness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala day and night. Dhikr is not just La ilaha illallah, it'll wake you up. Allah, 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 yes, it'll wake you up. The greatest dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Quran al-Kareem. When you put your mind into Quran al-Kareem, when you begin to read Quran al-Kareem with understanding, not just words itself. Yes, the words will protect you, but I am talking about understanding. When you see what happens to the people who are in your state, who came to this examination room where they failed. Siru fil ard, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَانظُرُوا كَانَ عَاقِبَةُ لِلْمُكَذِّبِينَ. Go and have a look at the people who failed this test. The people who denied Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what happened to them? They're all gone, finished, khalas. They are back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for reckoning. So you will be going through the same thing. Therefore, you need to wake up from the state of ghafla and you need to turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah constantly reminds. But a reminder for a human being to wake up from the state of ghafla. What is the second thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that will be protected against shaitan and nafs? Shaitan and his soldiers. The first ones, the ones who constantly practice dhikrullah morning and evening. And the second one, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, al-mustaghfiruna bil-ashar. Those who constantly ask for forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when? It's amazing. Ashar, he says. What is ashar? Sahar time, sahur time, sahri time. When is it? At the deepest point of everybody's sleep. Everybody's sleep in the middle of the night, tahajjud time. Not fajr time. Fajr is finished. Khalas, it's salat time and everybody wakes up. But before fajr, sahar time, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will protect against shaitan and his junood, in his soldiers, if a person in a state of wakefulness, which is the beginning of real wakefulness, inshallah ta'ala, during the time of sahar, where you make constantly astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah. Allah, please forgive me. I waste every single minute of mine. Ya Rabbi, please forgive me. Ya Rabbi, let me be amongst the dhakirin, shakirin, hamadun, the people who remember you, constantly grateful to you, constantly praise you, Ya Rabbi al-Alameen. To give me this state, Ya Rabbi, you're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the third one, وَالْبَاكُونَ مِنْ خَشْيَةِ اللَّهِ. And those people who shed tears, who cry because of khashyatullah. Two eyes, says Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, will not touch the fire of Jahannam. Aynun bakat min khashyatillah. The ones who cry when they fear their own ending with Allah, when they think of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's greatness, how ghafil, how jahil we are, then the tears come. Khashyatullah is fear of Allah. Fear with awe. Not the fear, na'udhu billah, like we fear our police or some enemy outside because they might shoot us or they might arrest us. Allah, na'udhu billah, never causes any dhulm onto any of His servants. This particular fear is the fear of offending Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Fear of disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you really love somebody from the heart, you fell in love with a woman or a man or at a young age, you are absolutely adoring that person. What's your greatest fear? Offending your beloved. And this is the fear that we're talking about. But this requires awareness. This requires constantly remembering your beloved. How can you not offend Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if you are in a state of ghafla constantly? Heedlessness. There are thousands of sins that we commit with our limbs, minor sins, without even realizing it. We take it so lightly. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, sometimes a person can say, to make people laugh, certain words, crack a joke. This will be so offensive to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that mu'min, that believer, will sink so deep into Jahannam. Just one word in the wrong place. You made fun with something that is sha'airillah, one of the symbols of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You made fun with someone's beard. You made fun with one of our mothers. You made fun with adhan. You made fun with salat. You made fun with some alim, some scholar that it is so beloved in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The moment that you do this, you sink so deep. But sometimes the opposite also happens. To say the right thing at the right time, that pivotal moment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may raise you in the ranks so high. A ghafil person does this all the time, fall on his face. An alim person who knows, he might be a sinner even, saying the right thing at the same time can save that person's eternity. I attended to a particular masjid. I usually go there when I go to Sydney. Redfern Mosque. Sheikh Salih Yujal, he's a professor now. He's got some online course going now, Tafsir. He was the Imam at that time. And I was with another Imam, Sheikh Salim from Adelaide. We went to visit him. Wait for Asr Salat. We're about 10 minutes late in the traffic, and Asr Salat is already finished. I looked at the Imam at the front, who's leading the Salat. Imam's supposed to lead, but somebody took his position, and he's leading the Salat. Some guy, completely new shaven, in his early 50s. Yes? And from his looks, I can see that he's Lebanese. Not a Turk. Lebanese. It's a Turkish mosque. Yes? That's besides the point. We're not judging anybody with their race or anything as such. He went to the wardrobe, opened up. He put his coat on, and he put a hat on. This is a typical, stereotypical image of a punter. Punter's hat and punter's coat. Punter is a guy who bets on horses and dogs and, in the races all day. Typical Aussie. That was more shocking to me than anything else. I said to the Imam, who's this man? A punter is leading the Salat? Punter. He says, that's our beloved Ahmed. Huh? His answer is more shocking than what he does. A beloved Ahmed? We love him so much. I said, Subhanallah, how can you tell me, why are you saying this? He's a punter. He says, yes, he's a punter. He says, about 2 months ago, he was in Flemington Racecourse, punting on horses. He's got all his book in his hand, and he says, I'm going to bet for this one, with money. He's gambling. And he saw the horse in the rank that's about the race. One of the horse was called Prophet Muhammad. They called the name of the horse Prophet Muhammad, Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, what? You can't insult my Nabi? He went to the authorities. He said, you've done something really insulting to our religion. He says, you need to change this, and you need to apologize. He said, we didn't do it. The owners did it. We can't change this. He says, I don't care. You need to do it now. It's impossible to change. The race is about to start in 30 seconds, 35 seconds. He said, is that so? He jumps over the fence where the horse is about to bolt, the gates open and run. He lies down on the ground completely in front of the horse that's going to come out, named Prophet Muhammad. He says, I don't care. I want to die. Rather than seeing my Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam being insulted. Of course, all television cameras and everybody, the police comes, the ambulance comes. What's happening? The guy's having a heart attack in front of the horse opening. They had to cancel the race, that particular one, and they had to change the name of the horse. He's got iman in his heart, so weak. He cannot control his habit of sinning, of gambling. But he loves Allah and His Nabi. He's aware. He's willing to die for it. Maybe this little act of courage can take him to high state because he's aware, not ghafil. I'm sure in that particular group of that horse races, punters, there were many Muslims in a state of ghafla. That's why the Sheikh said, he's our beloved Ahmad. He can lead salat anytime he wants. Makes sense? Being an aware Muslim and non-aware Muslim. Only a person who's aware of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's purpose in life, who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, what awaits the person in the hereafter, will shed tears. So the one who have khashyatullah, and how do you get khashyatullah? It cannot be just given to you like this. You need to work on it. You need to wake your heart up through dhikrullah, through reading, through knowledge, which will come inshallah in a minute. The opposite of jahala. Opposite of jahala. Everything in the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala constantly make dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now let's look at, inshallah, jahala. Ignorance. The absence of Islamic knowledge to know our purpose, to know our creator, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to be able to practice Islam, to practice taqwa, avoid harams, to guide one out of the control of nafsul al-mara, yes, requires knowledge. Not knowing one's duties to Islam, how to practice Islam, how to pass this test, stems from greatest disease of the heart called jahala, ignorance. Ignorance. If you see somebody who is lacking adab, akhlaq, manners, yes, you say that person is jahil person, leave them alone, leave him jahil, ignorant. This is the fourth attribute of nafs al-ammara. One sheikh asked in a classroom, who's our greatest enemy? If I were to ask you, I'm sure you'll give me different answers. Who's the enemy of Muslims in the world? They don't answer accordingly. Something else. If you ask me, I'll say it's the holdable technology. Yep. Greatest enemy is ignorance. Jahal. When Muslims are ignorant, we sink. The more ignorant we are, the deeper we sink. That's why all the powers in the world, they give you everything to make you jahil. Constantly maintain your jahala. All your programs, the things that you watch, constantly keep your mind numb so you stay in that state of ghafla, state of zombie state. Nobody wants to wake you up. Have you seen an Aboriginal person who lives in Australia, who's intelligent, smart? Allah never created junk, remember? Who's in the parliament? Who's a lawyer? Who's a doctor? Have you ever seen one? No. No. Why? The Australian policy, Australian government, deliberately. What they say when they give speech is different. They give what? Constantly alcohol. Alcohol. It was alcohol. All the tribes in Alice Springs, in Perth, wherever they are, I've never seen a single Aboriginal who's not either on drugs or on alcohol. Deliberately. They give money, they open bottle shops next door. As soon as they take money, what do they go to? Drunk. A drunk person is always drunk. The greatest, I was listening to one particular statistics one doctor was giving. He says at the moment, the highest drug usage is amongst the Aboriginals, and they're using ice. Ice. No more alcohol. Ice. Why? They are deliberately keeping these people in that state so they don't rise up and cause any trouble to the main community. Right or wrong, I'm not criticizing anybody. But everything around you is stopping you from waking up from this ghafla and removing this jahala. The greatest impediment, greatest barrier, greatest wall between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is jahala. Ignorance. As a Muslim, we're supposed to every day make a progress in terms of our knowledge. We are people, we're called knowledge-based people. Our culture, Islam is nothing but knowledge. Without knowledge, we are nothing. It is said by one of my teachers, I've also seen, actually several other people saying, he says, the more Muslim left as Jahil, he leaves Islam. In Indonesia, a lot, I read a lot. Ahmed von Denver, Dr. Ahmed von Denver, he did a study on Indonesians. He says the amount of people in Indonesia converting to Christianity is amazing. Missionaries are so successful. Why? No knowledge. Jahil people and poor, poverty, hungry. They use this to convert people. Come, we'll give you this. Believe in Jesus. Yes? They did the same thing in Egypt. Missionaries. They want to use it. They're one of the most simplest people, the Saidis. They are people who work in the farms. Some Christian missionary came, established an office, and they begin to give white goods, not simple goods, white goods, fridges, the washing machines, dishwashing machines. They're giving to these people who are just the farmers. Everybody's taking it. The whole house is full with what? White goods. After 6 months, the head honch, the cardinal or the priest, all these Saidis together. He said, do you know who we are? They said, no. They're simple people, just generous people who are giving. He says, no, we are believers of Jesus. Jesus is going to save you. We'll take you to Jannah. All the Muslims know about Isa alayhi salam. They know what Christianity is. One of the jahilist, there's such word. The most ignorant Muslim stood up. Everybody's listening. He said, Ya Jama'ah, he says, Wahadu. Say La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah. These people are tricking you. Everybody stood up. La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah. The Christian priest could not even finish his complete sentence. They said, forget it. Let's close the shop, shut shop and go away. We can't convert any of these people. Why? They may be non-lettered people. They may not know how to read and write. Read and write. And who says that ignorance? Normally when we say somebody's ignorant, we say he's uneducated at university. Or when somebody's educated, we say that person is really educated. Absolutely not. Islam's definition is different. Absolutely different. The one who does not know his purpose of his creation, the one who does not worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, does not practice, is the jahil person. A person could be non-lettered. Do you know amongst the companions, Adi ibn Hatim, radiallahu an, he became radiallahu an. He was a poet. He used to write some poetry against Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam when he was jahil, when he was kafir. He became Muslim. In front of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, "Ya Rasulullah, yes, I believe that I believe you, but the people outside might still attack me. Can you give me in writing?" Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam doesn't know how to read and write, so he gave it to the Ali Karamallah wajh to write what do you call a guarantee that this is a Muslim, like Muslim certificate, conversion certificate, like we have today. And he went outside. When anybody asks, he says, "Look." The guy says, "I don't know how to read." Nobody in Medina at that time knew how to read and write in the market, including himself. He was one of the greatest poets, and yet he didn't know how to read and write. A person could be non-lettered. A person could live in a village, in the amongst the rice paddocks, never see a school in their entire life, but the heart is awakened. They know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They when they remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, tears fall down. As one of my teachers says, I sat with many ulama, shuyukh, mashayikh, maybe over 40 years at their feet to learn. He says, nobody affected me more than my own grandmother, who was a non-lettered woman. She did not know how to read and write. She never went to Osborne, or she never went to Harvard, or all those universities. She never even went to local elementary school. But each time the name of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is mentioned, the tears will roll down her cheeks. Each time. She tells me stories. I learned my Nabi from my grandmother. I learned my Quran from my grandmother. All through memory. She cannot even read and write. And she affected me so much. This person is not jahil. And Islam's definition of jahala is when you purposefully do not learn. You could have a dr next to your name, dir. Yes. If you have two of them, dir they call it. Yeah. You talk nothing. If you have not found Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you are jahil in the sight of Islam. You are alim ad-dunya. You are alim of this world, but jahil al-akhirah. Real what it matters. The eternal life is at stake. You have not found anything. Even if you are the greatest inventor. If you have not found Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you are nothing but a jahil, ignoramus person. Jahil person who spends his entire life, enjoys every comfort perfectly, suitable for one's needs, but never asks the question, what am I? Where did I come from? What is the purpose of my existence? Everything around me is most perfectly designed for my existence. I enjoy everything. I live, I breathe without any problem. Look, automatic. There is something here, pumps blood without me knowing. My nervous system works perfectly well. It's amazing. I'm growing. I enjoy things. It is such a wonderful setup. What a wonderful setup. And yet you never stop, pause for a minute to ask, where did I come from? What's the purpose of this? Who made this? But an intelligent person, doesn't have to be a lettered person, can think, because every human being is programmed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to ask these pivotal questions. Everybody. But the answers that you provide for yourself, either through nature or nurture. Because you by nature you will find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, called fitrah. If a person lives on an island and never seen any human being before, abandoned there, raised by maybe deers, not the wolves, deers, yeah, that person will find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because his fitrah, his primordial nature is pure. So he will ask questions. Where am I? What is this? He can draw conclusions. Reasoning it's called. Yes? And eventually will find the creator. May not know his name. That's not important. May not know his name. But he will find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, Every child who's born into this world is born upon fitrah, primordial purity. And depending on the nurturing that he gets, his teachers, his environment, his family, the son of a Yahudi will become a Yahudi. Daughter of a Christian will become a Christian. Yeah? Fire worshipper will become fire worshipper. And the Muslim is Muslim until certain age. And after that, you still have to think. Otherwise, nobody will convert to Islam. You know that everybody in Islam on earth today is a convert. Convert to Islam. Our ancestors convert to Islam. Why? We decided to convert the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you use this intellect of yours, the religious center that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put into your brain, if it's not damaged or purposefully jammed by the authorities around you and the system around you, you would find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If a person were to graduate from 100 universities, if this person was regarded as the genius of the genius, if he did not find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the sight of Allah, this person is jahil, ignorant. Because he has missed completely what? The purpose of his creation. No matter how you multiply any number, yes, with a zero you get zero. If you put a 1, that's our first objective, 1. The more zeros you put in front of it, it increases. Yes, you can have 100,000 zeros afterwards. And if you're in the Bitcoin, may Allah help you. Yes. 0, 0, 0, 0. I bought 1 million Bitcoins when it came out. What are you now? Oh, I can't even tell you because I can't even read the zeros. Yeah? 1. If you remove this 1 from the beginning, what will happen? Everything is 0. First 1, that 1 is defining Allah. Only it makes sense if you have all those zeros make sense, adds value to this 1 if you found Allah. This dunya is meaningful. This world is meaningful. You can benefit from it. You can enjoy it. You make your shukr to who? The giver. You know that this is a temporary place. And at the end of your life, where will you go? To Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That 1 makes sense. But if you remove that 1, what will happen to you? You're just a 0. No matter how many universities you finish, you're still a jahil if you did not find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even if everybody worships you, your intellect, your aql, you have discovered so many things and helped humanity, it means nothing. These are all zeros if it doesn't have 1 at the beginning. Wahidul Qahhar, Wahidul Ahad, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Qul huwa Allahu ahad. You need to find that first. Otherwise, that knowledge that you accumulated in this world is absolutely useless. Even if you accumulated Islamic knowledge, by the way. If you do not put into amal, into practice, that's also one of the greatest burdens. Even you shall be punished more than the kafir on the day of judgment. Because you knew and you did not put it. As Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, al-ilmu bila amalin wa balin. Ilm without practice is actually a burden on your head. Unapplied, unpracticed Islamic knowledge is a burden for son of Adam. Wa ilmun ala al-lisan. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam says to us at the beginning of this hadith, al-ilmu ilman. There are 2 types of knowledge. We're not talking about the kafir. We're not talking about the Muslim. Amongst the Muslim, there are 2 types of knowledge. Al-ilmu ilman. علم في اللسان علم في القلب. علم في اللسان, the knowledge which is on the tongue of a person, is dry information, معلومات they call it. It's the Google information. Google is not knowledge. Information. Information does not make you alim. علم في اللسان, this one, فذاك حجة الله على ابن آدم. Comes the day of judgment, this particular dry information, data that you have stored in your memories, shall be used as an evidence against you on the day of judgment. Why? Because you did not practice. علم في القلب, هذا علم نافع. The knowledge which entered into your heart and guided your actions, your akhlaq, your lifestyle, is beneficial knowledge. Beneficial knowledge. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, the danger of just accumulating knowledge and not putting to practice, من أزداد علما ولم يزد في الدنيا زهدا لم يزد من الله إلا بعدا. This hadith is narrated from Ali Karramallahu Wajha. It's amazing hadith. He says, he whose Islamic knowledge is in the increase, he goes to madrasa, he listens to all these YouTube Nouman Ali Khan, the lectures, or in Indonesian maybe. While his Islamic knowledge is in the increase, while his zuhd, on the other hand, his zuhd, detachment, love of this dunya, is not detached from the heart. It's called zahid, zuhd, yes? From this dunya, is not increasing. He's not becoming, disconnected from this dunya, love of this dunya. His Islamic knowledge is increasing, but zuhd is not. Then Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that knowledge will only serve to distance him, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. An alim, you become what? Tell me who's the most knowledgeable amongst the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Shaitan alayhi lana. He knows everything. Why is he done? Because he's not practicing. He believes in Allah. Yeah? He believes in all the prophets, all the books. He's seen the reality. He's got compelling evidence in his hand. He sees. And yet he's shaitan. That shaitan's knowledge is that dry information that I'm talking about. That person is a jahil in the real sense of the word. He's jahil. And usually these people will say lots of information, no real knowledge, because real knowledge is a nur cast into the heart of a believer that guides his actions, takes him to Jannah. Jannah, ilm, seeking of Islamic knowledge is called pathways to Jannah. Pathways to Jannah. A person whose heart is closed, who does not practice what he preaches, he is in grave danger. Absolutely grave danger. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from such end. Tazkiyatun nafs, tarbiyatun nafs, zuhd, taqwa can never ever be attained without seeking proper Islamic knowledge. Opposite of jahala. Something is fixed with its opposite. Antidote, we call it. The first barrier a Muslim has to go through, tear apart, is the barrier of jahala, ignorance. Men and women, طلب العلم فريضة على كل مسلم ومسلمة, says Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Seeking of the knowledge, what is the knowledge, is compulsory upon every Muslim and Muslimah. Fardu ayn. What is this fardu ayn knowledge? Knowledge of Tawheed, knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, knowledge of knowing your purpose and doing something about it. This is the real knowledge. If you haven't got this, no matter how many diplomas and degrees you have, you're a jahil. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم طلب العلم أفضل عند الله من الصلاة والصيام والصدقة والحج والجهاد في سبيل الله عز وجل. When I read this hadith, I got shocked first. Years ago. It's in Ihya Ulumuddin, you'll find this hadith. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, seeking of Islamic knowledge is afdal, better, more virtuous. Seeking Islamic knowledge, more virtuous than what? In the sight of Allah. In Allah, min as-salat. More virtuous than praying. Salat. More virtuous than siyam, fasting. More virtuous than sadaqat, giving sadaqah, charity. More virtuous than what? Hajj. Let's put it a bit more higher rank. More virtuous than jihad fi sabilillah azza wa jal. All the amazing deeds, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, seeking of Islamic knowledge is better. The one of the companion put his hand up. Ya Rasulullah, we're asking you about what is the best amal, good deed. You're telling us, what do you call? Knowledge. Knowledge is knowledge. Amal is amal. One is a theory, the other one's practice. Yes? You're asking us to ilm. But ilm is not amal. He says, what amal is good for if there is no knowledge accompanied it? A person, if he goes and performs hajj without knowledge, without knowing the fardu ayn, without knowing the, what do you call, fard components, that hajj is no hajj. If a person gives sadaqah, if he cannot control his heart from riyah, show off, yes, when he gives sadaqah, he'll come back afterwards. Remember, I give you $100, I saved your life, yeah, you owe it to me. That's sadaqah, bil manni wal adha, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. Do not hold your sadaqah on top of people. Ignorance, if you do salat without knowing, without tajweed, without the proper arkan and shurut of salat, what benefit that salat will bring you? Nothing. So knowledge is the first thing. I said to you, remember in Medina, they could not even find a single person who can read and write. When the Muslims begin to conquer and the non-Muslims begin to come into the measures of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam made one little condition. He says, I'll let you go completely if you teach one Muslim how to read and write. You'll be free. Instead of being in bondage, in slavery for the rest of your life, teach a Muslim how to read and write. We are people of knowledge. قال الله قال Rasulullah is the definition of ilm. Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah, he says, what is ilm? He says, ilm is قال الله قال Rasulullah. The source of knowledge to us is what? Quran al-Kareem. That's our magnum opus that's given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, greatest. Alif Lam Mim, ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين. This book, there is no doubt about it, is a guidance for those people who seek this path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Quran is the source of knowledge. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the interpreter, living example of that knowledge. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It is not enough to accumulate other sciences within you. It is primarily fardu ayn is for you to have at your grassroots, at your foundational level, at a younger age. You need to learn about Islamic knowledge. We recently had a camp. Maybe none of you attended. I deliberately invited one particular brother. He was a young man. As a student, he used to come. And alhamdulillah, he studied. He had one of the highest mark, and he did medicine. Then he excelled. He is one of the top surgeons in Australia, cardiologist. And you should see him. He came and spoke with tears in his eyes. A doctor. He's at the highest. This year, he says, last year, he says, I swept all the awards within the medical Australia. They gave it to him. He says, there are people 20 years older than me who are more experienced. They could not get it. They gave it to me. Allah gave him. But the more they gave him, the more humble he gets. The more he understands. He says, this is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This person is the ideal Muslim. Dhul Janahain, it is called. A person with two wings. A person who knows Islam, he knows Islam, he's a very good practicing Muslim, and he knows the other sciences, that the worldly sciences. So he can excel when he speaks as a surgeon, the cardiologist, as a professor, with Islam, with ayah, with Quran. When he speaks to somebody, everybody listens. Yes? But nowadays, Muslims are how? You know what is the difference between us and the Muslims before? 200 years ago. It began to go down. In the olden days, in the golden days, the smartest children, they'll be selected by the community. The most intelligent, boy or girl. Where will they be asked to go and study? In this day and age, when we see a child with, mashallah, gift, intellect, high IQ, we push that person to get the highest mark in VCE. To do what? Medicine and law and dentistry, then pharmacy, then maybe engineer, then social sciences, arts, then nothing. He couldn't get it anywhere. He's so not into studying. He failed everything. What do we do with that child? Send him to madrasa. Become an alim, scholar, Pakistan, Indonesia, boarding school. This was the opposite. When we were superpowers in the world, the whole of Ummah, that child will be selected, a few, and guaranteed his life, for life. Your rizqi is with us. We'll take care of you, your children, your needs, your parents, whoever you are, whatever you want to do, we will take care of you. But you become an alim and lead us. فقيه واحد أشد على الشيطان من ألف عابد, says Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in a Sahih Hadith. One learned scholar is more formidable as an enemy, adversary against Shaitan alayhi la'na than 1,000 devout, ignorant worshippers. Who's going to cop the greatest? Who's going to cop the greatest punishment in the hereafter? Do you know? Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam tells us. You ready for this one? The greatest, the person who's going to cop the greatest punishment in the hereafter is an alim who did not benefit from his own knowledge. أشد الناس عذاب يوم القيامة عالم لم ينفعه علمه, says Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The person who shall be given the worst punishment is an Islamic scholar who did not benefit from his own knowledge, meaning he did not practice what he preached. The believer, but a fasiq, is he going to stay in Jahannam forever? No. He will eventually burn for a couple of I don't know, trillion years, akhirah years. Then eventually he'll come out and go to Jannah. But he knew everything. He'll burn with Shaitan alayhi la'na. Even worse probably. Because he knew. He knew. So in Islam, we cannot be jahil. Nafs will definitely will try to make you jahil. He will do every activity which will take you away from seeking Islamic knowledge. And seeking Islamic knowledge is the only way out from this, getting away from this jahala state of ignorance. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us with beneficial knowledge, inshallah ta'ala. My intention was to go through with the other one too. But we started, alhamdulillah, 45 minutes late. And I've given you 1 hour and 10 minutes talk. So anything more than this, you're all falling asleep. And because all of you are hungry. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala get rid of our jahala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala get rid of our ghafla. Some of the people who ask me, when I go to visit some of the shuyukh, some scholars, he says, I'm going to make dua, what do you want? I said, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, make dua for me to remove my ghafla. Remove my ghafla and jahala. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, Man qala ana alimun فإنه جاهل. He who, فيما قال أو كما قال, he who claims to be an alim, he is nothing but an ignorant person. Because in comparison to your knowledge, in comparison to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's knowledge, what is your knowledge? You know nothing. You know nothing. There was one particular person, see, without tasawwuf, by the way, without this tazkiyah, no matter how much an Islamic scholar learns, eventually he will fall to the trap of shaitan, of insincerity. He'll suffer from lack of ikhlas. And when you have lack of ikhlas, because you think that your mind is superior to everybody else, kibr will come in. Arrogance will come in. They'll feel arrogant, superiority complex, they call it. They will not show it, that, but some of them sometimes go berserk. One simple Muslim who is switched on, his heart is awakened. He sees one of those persons who thinks, I am alim, and you ask him any question, he answers. So he comes to him in the class, he sits. At the end, he puts his hand up. You can see the attitude of the so-called scholar with a big head. Yes? Big head is an arrogant head. He says, Sheikh, I'm a simple person. Can you please help me? He says, come, I can help anybody, come. Come. What do you want to know? He says, I really cannot, I'm a very visual person. I can't understand theory very much. Is it possible for you to tell me about vastness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's knowledge? Allah knows everything, remember? He says, stupid man, what kind of a question is that? Allah knows everything. But he says, that's the point. I can't understand this. Can you show me pictorically? Can you just show me, draw on the board? He says, don't be silly. This is kufr, shirk. He says, but I want to know. I want to have my heart content. Please teach me. He said, okay, just for you. Just for you. He draws a big circle on the board with the chalk. And the young man looks at, wow, that's big. Big. He says, second question. Can I ask second question, please? He says, yes. Go ahead. In comparison to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's knowledge, how much is the knowledge of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? He said, what kind of a silly question is that, stupid man? How can you compare Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam knowledge with Allah's knowledge? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is a human being. Allah is the creator of the universe. He says, no, but can you please show me on the board? He says, just for you. He gets the chalk. He puts a little tiny pixel. You could hardly see. He said, there. Wow, he said, that's so small. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is so knowledgeable, yeah? He says, of course. Allah has given ilmul ladun. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give him so much knowledge. He's praising Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says, now the confusing thing for me, one more, please. Last question, I promise I will not ask again. He says, yes, go ahead. Where is your knowledge in comparison to this? He is baffled, shocked. The so-called Sheikh. He's trying to teach him a lesson. He got up and said, Salaam alaikum. The man got up and said, Salaam alaikum. You think about it. Arrogance will come in when you don't have ikhlas, when you did not have tazkiyatun nafs, when you did not go through tasawwuf. That's the greatest danger for a so-called Muslim scholar. And you see in this day and age, they lose it. They learn for 40 years. They speak in front of people for 40 years. They are such great orators, so influential people. Then, towards the end of their lives, down the gurgler. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala lets them be as a plaything of their nafs and shaitan alayhi la'na, like a clown, that's a different type of jahala. That's a person who's got eyesight but with cataract on it. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inshallah remove this ghafla and jahala from our hearts, make us better Muslim. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Subhanaka Allahumma bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant wahdaka la sharika lak. Nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Lillahi ta'ala al-Fatiha.
Jazakallah Sheikh for the lecture today. So I would like to open the forum. If anyone has any question in regards to
today's talk,
Gafil, or what we call in Indonesia lalai, kelalaian, state of lalai, and also jahala, the state of ignorance. If anyone got any questions.
There are three possibilities. The reason why you don't ask questions. One is that you understood everything, which is good. We put a tick. The second, that you did not understand anything. We also put a tick. And the third is you don't care. That's the third one, question mark. So which one? I accept. Yes.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
In terms of ghafla, I've got a question. I think as humans, basically built with a kind of different attribute. One of them is basically we need entertainment, for example. Now is from people to people, this depending. One got, I think, a compartment on his heart for entertainment. The other is smaller, for example. So it's basically in that regard. So it's basically, how do you explain that? So it's basically, we can't be, I think, 100% a focus, not a ghafla for all day. There must be a kind of something to refresh us, for example. But how we deal with that? So.
Let me give you the basic first. Is it on? We understand the term ni'mah, what we call in Malay, not Malay, in Bahasa, nikmah, ni'mah. And there is also one thing called niqmah. Niqmah. Opposite of ni'mah is niqmah, bala, affliction, tribulation. Yep. Our ulama tell us everything that keeps you away from the state of awareness, dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and knowing your purpose, living accordingly, is actually niqmah, even if it looks like a ni'mah in front of you. Do you understand? Everything that stops you coming closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to develop that relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to make you live as a good Muslim, everything, whatever pursuit, whatever you do in life, is a niqmah, with qaf, niqmah, meaning an affliction, trouble, bala, disease, even though in your perception, in your thinking, it's a ni'mah. Niqmah you call it. Do you understand this? We are here for a purpose. This is our purpose, to gain Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's pleasure before we die. Correct? No matter what happens, at all costs. Rules and regulations for this. Practice, knowledge, awareness, dhikrullah, akhlaq, taqwa. Yes? This is the reality. However, we're not machines. We need refreshing. We need to laugh. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam used to laugh. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he had one particular Abdullah ibn Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. One particular companion, he used to make him laugh all the time. Cracker, he's a joker, but he's a Sahabi, radiallahu anhum wa radu an. There is no harm in making people laugh, having some, innocent fun, doing activities together, making people laugh to keep them fresh, but not at the expense of forgetting what your real purpose is. The danger comes in because Nafsul Ammara likes this fun constantly and deliberately wants to forget its origin and where it's going. Therefore, submerges itself in this fun. The whole dunya is a fun. Yes? Fun. Therefore, he forgets. And when the examiner says, pens down, he says, what? It's time, yeah? Oh, please let me go back and do the right things. Rabbi irji'uni. And when Malakul Maut appears before you, the first thing that will come out from the mouth of a person, Allah Quran says, oh Allah, please return me back so I can do good deeds. It's gone. Do your good deeds and enjoy at the same time, but not haram stuff. There are billions of halal things to enjoy from. Billions of things. You are adults, you understand better. The intimacy that you have with your wife is, mashallah, is a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, for this fun, you'll get reward for it. One of the companions said, Ya Rasulullah, really? If we were to go home and sleep with our wives, we'll get reward for it? He says, what else? What do you expect? If you go and do that fun in the outside, haram manner, you're going to get sin. So might as well get halal. Everything. Not a problem. But the shaitan will push you. Nafsul Ammara does not know limit. That's where the danger is. If a child must play. But if the child only plays and does not do any homework, does not take any responsibility, doesn't even want to go to the toilet, he does it in his pants because he enjoys, what happens? We know, we can see there is a balance. But we have lost that balance long time ago. We're trying to bring people back to the roots yet. But it should not be misunderstood that Islam does not make you smile. It's not just, no. On the contrary, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, one of the greatest amal, the best deed in the sight of Allah is to put surur, happiness, joy into heart of a fellow Muslim. Make him smile. Make him smile. Enjoy, no problem with your children activity. Making sure there's not haram, and that's not the only activity that you do. Time of salat, get up and do your salat. Ramadan fasting, Hajj time, sadaqah. Dars together. Dhikr together. But if you want to play cricket outside, if you want to play volleyball outside, you want to play basketball outside, not a problem. As long as you're not showing your aura. Or you want to go to swimming, alhamdulillah, not a problem. You want to go to picnic, why not? They ask Imam Hassan al-Banna in Egypt, Shaheed Hassan al-Banna, Ikhwan al-Muslimin. Egyptians are the most musical people in the world. Music is Egyptian. How do you define an Egyptian, they say? Masmar al-Batan in the morning. They've got one particular food called fool. They call the nail to the stomach. It's so difficult to digest. It has, GI index is very, low. So they eat this and say, play soccer all day. Egyptian definition. And from evening until the morning, listen to Kulthum. Kulthum is the greatest singer. Music. So they asked this to the Sheikh. They said, Ya Sheikh, is music haram? The Sheikh gives a beautiful answer. He says, haram music is haram, halal music is halal. Do you understand? Not everything that you listen to is haram. No, I can't listen to music. Shaitan. But if shaitan affects you through music, keep away from music for a while. I swear for over 28 years maybe, I did not listen to classical Turkish music. When I was a child, I used to listen to all love songs. No munkar in it. It's pure poetry. 28 years after, I never bought any cassette. I never bought any music. I never. I went to a new Turkish restaurant, and they were playing some of the classics. People are sitting with me. I noticed that tears are just falling. They said, Sheikh, why are you crying? I said, if I were to tell you to laugh at me, I'm not going to tell you. He says, please tell us. The music affected me. Hearts are affected by music. What our children listen to today? Jungle music. Sorry. Please forgive me, jungle. Haram music. Oh, I'm just listening to the beat. What? Techno music. Is that music? Halal music is halal. Haram music is haram. There are certain things which will take you. Some qasida, some nasheed, some musical instruments, a different story. Fiqh issue, I'm not going in there. But when I listen to, I cannot control. It makes me a better Muslim. I want to do something better. Love of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. When you hear some nasheed, beautiful. Amazing. So it doesn't mean that Muslims are dull people. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam used to joke. They used to joke to him, and he used to joke. He came to one little girl, one lady came, elderly lady, in her 70s, whatever it is. She could hardly walk. He says, Ya Rasulullah. She says, Ya Rasulullah. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, yes. Am I going to go to Jannah? She wants to cut short, forget about everything else. She wants to know the result. She says, Ya Rasulullah, am I going to go to Jannah? Old woman. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, no. Old women don't go to Jannah. She began to cry. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, when you go to Jannah, you'll be a young, beautiful 16, 17-year-old. From Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was joking. That's joke, but he's telling you the truth. He says, I also joke, but I never tell a lie. In this statement, what did he say? He says, yes, old women do not go to Jannah. And when you go to Jannah, inshallah, you'll be going as a young lady. He used to joke many a times. He used to laugh. But his laughter, where you can see his teeth, ha, 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 was very rare in his lifetime. But he had the biggest smiles. He's the most smiling person on earth. Probably they invented smiley icon after him. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam always smiles. Sadness happens to him. Depression happens to him. Not permanent. Very little. There is death in the family. He lost 6 of his children before his time. In his lifetime. His youngest child, Ibrahim, died. In his arms, baby. Like they're probably younger age. And tears were coming down his cheeks. They said, Ya Rasulullah, you also cry? He says, what do you think? Heart feels the pain, and the eyes interpret that pain. But we never and ever say anything against the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We accept. But I'm a human being. I feel pain. So we're human beings. We're not robots. We're not androids. Yes? Is that enough? Sisters, don't ask any questions. Yes, there is one.
Bismillah, Assalamualaikum, Sheikh. Regarding seeking worldly knowledge, we probably have idea what to do and where to find it, but maybe you can explain more how and to get Islamic knowledge. What's the process of it to make it, understand more of it?
Inshallah, this will be covered thoroughly, inshallah, in next lecture. Remind me of this question. Very important question. It's one of the core questions, inshallah. So I will not answer this time, but I will answer next time that question, inshallah.
Inshallah, maybe one last question from Pak Lucas.
Yes. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Yes. Yes. There is one particular alim, I will not mention his name, one of my heroes. After studying for maybe 35, 40 years, pure Islamic sciences, he said he was a mufti, not a normal imam, he was a mufti. He was invited to attend another course, seeking knowledge by a great alim who was higher than him. Reluctantly he went, because he knows everything already. The perils of just having knowledge. After studying with him for 2 years, with maybe 7, 8 other students of his caliber, at the graduation time, the Sheikh, the main Sheikh, asked them to give their feelings and opinions, how the course was, feedback. This alim, my teacher, he said, when I came here, I thought I was a knowledgeable person. I knew everything there is to know. But after sitting in your halaqah for the last 2 years, I swear by Allah, I realized something. I am just sitting at the shore of an ocean, just playing with a couple of water trickles. Ocean is the knowledge. This is true understanding. The negative part of this other side, Nafsul Ammara by default will never accept any criticism. It's in any area, including this one. Because in the scenario that Nafs has created, in this play that Nafs created for itself, the superstar, the hero, is himself, the Nafs. Have you ever seen a movie where the superstar is being criticized or belittled? Never. Superman is always Superman. He's a Superman. Always Superman. Like no earthlings can ever come close to him. Ignorance is as such that makes you think that you're Superman, but you're nothing but a zombie. Only through Islamic knowledge, when you begin to listen, some talks, inshallah, this hadith I will start next week's talks with. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, "Alaykum bi mujalasatil ulama." I advise you to sit in the company of the learned, true learned scholars. I will define it also next week. عليكم بمجالسة العلماء واستماع كلام الحكماء. Give your earnest attention to the words of the wise ones. Ulama, the wise ones. Why? He says, I will continue English. He says, like thee, it's such a nur, a light that comes to you. Like the dead earth comes alive after rain. Death, dry earth comes alive after the rain. He says, dead hearts, sleeping hearts, jahil hearts will come alive binur al-hikmati, from their words. When you read Quran sometimes, you enjoy, sometimes, not always. Subhanallah, one little, we call it epiphany, moment of truth that comes, everything becomes clear. Yeah? That happens. We, Shaitan, Nafsul Ammara wants us to stay in the darkness. because he can get away with murder. Jahala, ignorance, is no excuse in Islam. Jahala is definitely not blessed in Islam. Oh, I don't know anything. I don't know anything. I'm not safe. No, 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 no. While you are in the exam room, you are under that scrutiny. You are obliged to answer. But Nafsul Ammara will stop you. Nafsul Ammara thrives on Jahala. Jahala leads to sins. Sins leads to habits, bad habits. Why would Nafsul Ammara come out of the state if he's happy? Seeking Islamic knowledge, seeking Islamic knowledge, seeking Islamic knowledge from the right sources, right people, is the most important thing. Ibn Sirin, rahimahullah, says, the knowledge is like the blood that travels in your arteries. If that blood is poisonous, you will be completely poisoned. If it's healthy, you'll be healthy. He means to say, if you seek proper knowledge, Islamic knowledge, you will be always in a state of flatline in terms of this dunya. You're always awake to this world and always awake to akhirah. Nafs and shaitan cannot trick you. But if your blood is your body is healthy, but if you're receiving wrong knowledge from deviant people, from deviant books, sometimes one little virus they put into your mind and heart about your iman, about your Islam, about your identity, it'll take years before you can remove it. I can read you. I get all these questions. He says, Sheikh, he says, when I'm thinking of my dead mother, I think of her. But in Salat, I want to think of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala look like? The person is 35 years old. He does not know who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. That's called jahala. So nafs will never want to acquire knowledge. Nafs, because nafs does not want any criticism. 3 out of 10. Okay.
Yes, Sheikh, if that's okay, there is one request for a very quick question.
Okay, no problem. I'm ready, but the people are saying food, food, food. They're making dhikr now. Food, food, food.
Please excuse me then.
Okay.
But this is going to be a very quick question, Sheikh.
Okay.
So you tell us about this special surgeon who is very humble despite of all of the awards that he got. Maybe you've mentioned about his name, but could you please repeat again the name so that I can...
Dr. Abdul Rahman Ihdayhid. Dr. Abdul Rahman Ihdayhid. I can give the proper EH. D. Let me have a look. Abdul Rahman Ihdayhid. EHDEIHED. Abdul Rahman, ABDURRAHMAN. The surname EHDEIHED. Seeking of Islamic knowledge, we said what? Fard. Fard. The knowledge that will awake you from ghafla and remove your jahala about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the fard knowledge. Every other knowledge, worldly sciences, is fardu kifaya. We should have doctors. We should have gynecologists. We should have lawyers. We should have accountants. We should have all the other sciences. But what is fard upon a person, fardu ayn, is to have that knowledge, enough knowledge to keep away from the harams, enough knowledge to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imam Ghazali defines knowledge. I can spend 6 months on just knowledge alone, talking to you. I can show you schematic, the diagrams upon diagrams, which science fits in where. We did this for many, many years. But as the lecture here, talk here, is to emphasize the importance. Emphasizing. You can be the best. Whatever you do, You must pursue with ihsan, excellence. You have to become the best. Inshallah ta'ala. Best engineer, but at the same time, best Muslim. Best Muslim, best engineer. Usually, if you are just best engineer, no Muslim, dangerous. If you're just a Muslim, okay, you might be good, but no dunya, they will rule you. The forces of evil, worshippers of devil, shaitan alayhi lana, they will suck you, they will milk you like a cow. You need to be aware and learn it in both.
Jazakallah for the lecture today. Thank you for bring up the awareness for us for the ignorance, state of ignorance, and state of ghafil. Inshallah, that will conclude our lecture today, and inshallah we'll close with doa kafaratul majlis. Subhanaka wa bihamdika astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.